Tell me why you say that.
Right? There's a reason why I'm
Yeah,
saying this.
yes.
There is not one simple decision that a minister would have made in this government here that is appropriate and that would be understood by the
Yeah.
masses of the people.
Yeah.
Right? Now, to go further, right, I just want to mention, right, that we also had ministers in those days with, some of them were highly qualified. They were from academia.
Okay.
We have ministers now that can't even spell their own name, and Mr. Scott is so sad.
Okay.
It's so sad what Mr. Scott has done, and I agree with the former Prime Minister.
Yeah.
He did not even know the Constitution,
Yeah.
right? And he went on to lambaste the teachers and to say this and that.
Yeah.
But it's sad. It's sad. We really have the scrapings of the barrel from ministers in this.
Okay. What do you think about the agriculture minister?
Before I go on,
Yes.
I am not only going to blame the ministers.
Yes.
We've got to blame the hierarchy of the policymakers in this country.
Okay.
They knew, right, from the president right down, they knew how much money they had to play with.
Yes.
They knew all the transgressions that were
Yeah.
made by the
Yeah.
Minister
Yeah.
of Education, and he just sat down and this is his modus operandi.
Okay.
He just sat down there, and when things will reach to a boil,
Yes.
then he intervened.
Yes.
He was asked to intervene by Mr. Jagdeo,
Okay.
and thank God he did so.
Yes.
Right? But we have jokers in this country,
Yeah.
honestly.
Okay.
Jokers.
Keep it for cases.
And I have given you the reason why I've said so.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you think about the agriculture minister?
He's not a joker. He needs to be put in a barrel of tar and rolled in the Atlantic Ocean.
Do you understand?
He
You understand
doesn't
that?
know anything. He can't speak.
Okay.
Right? Nothing at all. And you know, it's sad. I'll tell you why it's sad.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to elaborate here a bit more.
Yes.
Now you have your Minister of Finance.
Yes.
This guy, well, of course, I cannot expect better from him because he was under the PPP government.
Yes, we want to pick up. That's right. That's right.
He
That's
was
true.
just crunching numbers
Yeah,
in a back room.
Yes.
Now, crunching numbers and having a vision to take this country forward financially are two different kettle of fish. He don't have the capacity,
Okay.
right? Because when a Minister of Finance is going to tell you that NIS should give unemployment to people when NIS is on its dying breath,
Yeah.
then that tells me volume
Yeah.
of its capacity.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have Joey Jagan and Minister Jaipal Sharma will be on the program next 20 minutes to answer some of these questions. Not only Sharma, right? Mr. Green, what do you think about the rice industry? It's collapsing.
The rice industry
Yeah.
has to be rehabilitated.
Yes.
It needs good leadership at the cabinet level.
Yes.
And again, I hope we don't have another situation where the president has to intervene.
Yes.
I listened to the criticism and observation of the last caller.
Yes.
I've heard it from several quarters before. It's harsh, but one has to put things in context. Every century, every generation produces geniuses.
Yes.
We've had the Burnham Chedijagan cycle.
Yes.
Men who were committed to independence and who fought for us in different circumstances. When they died, unfortunately, we didn't have a replacement. It happens in every society.
Yes.
And the people that Burnham had to support him,
Yes.
he's right, but we've lost a whole generation of people.
Okay.
Some of them have gone abroad. Some of them were not involved in the heat of the
Okay.
struggle, and therefore
Yeah.
don't appreciate
Yeah.
what has to be done.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. I'm going to raise this matter at another level so that some of the people who are administrators will understand where we came from so they'll know where we are and part of the struggle. It's a problem. They didn't pass through the problems of the Cold War, the earlier oil crisis of the 70s, the problems you have with coups all over the world. They have no idea. Some of them were children, some weren't born.
Yeah. That's true.
And they don't have the intellectual vigor
Okay.
to understand what is doing. When the minister, as I said, could make that statement, shows he doesn't understand his role at all.
Okay.
And I feel sorry for the president.
Okay.
The burden's too much on him. He's a good man, a decent man, a
We all
forthright
know that.
man,
We all know that.
a
Yes.
good family man.
Yes, yes.
But, you know, as I told a young man who called me from New York last week,
Yeah.
he hasn't got the Shabadeens, the Jacks,
That's
the
right.
Reeds,
That's right.
the Rashley Jackson.
That's right.
Even if I say so, he hasn't got a young Hamilton Green.
Okay. Yes, yes.
So it's difficult.
Yes.
You know, it's difficult.
It's really a very, very experienced man. What do you think about the sugar workers?
I believe that will be solved.
Yeah.
Again, like rice, is a complex
Yes.
issue.
Yeah.
You cannot keep throwing money down the drain.
Yeah.
And a responsible government had to put a halt to it at some time.
Okay.
The last government made monumental mistakes with sugar for
Yeah.
political reasons. And sugar is a business.
Yeah.
You can't run a business that is losing and you keep it at the expense of another entity.
Yes.
So that what I think the government is attempting to do is to convert those lands.
Yes.
They've talked to many sugar workers, and I believe that once there's an understanding,
Okay.
I believe after local government elections are over, the government will tackle rice and sugar frontally and deal with it. They're two important aspects. I told a group a moment ago at the Damon thing
Yeah.
that we're all getting starry-eyed about gas and oil.
Yes.
And what I suggest to those people who are the descendants of Africans,
Yes.
two things.
Yeah.
Forget this idea of giving lump
Yes.
sum money to people.
Yes.
Concentrate on education,
Yes.
concentrate on planting, making full use of the agricultural
Yeah.
lands,
Yeah.
fruits, vegetables,
Okay.
ground provision.
Okay.
And most of all,
Yeah.
I said to them,
Yeah.
let's practice
Okay.
deferred gratification.
Okay. Call you name. Hello.
Hello?
Hello. Yes. Please.
Yes. Good afternoon,
Good
Mr.
afternoon.
Sharma.
Yes.
Mr. Sharma,
Yes.
you say you're the voice of the people.
Yeah, yes.
And you mustn't cut off people. Must
Yes.
let people express themselves and you would know
What
what is going on.
you want to express? What you want to express?
Now listen to me.
Yeah.
There's a ex-police is wrongfully in that prison. Let me tell you what happened.
I don't want to talk that. I don't want to discuss it anymore. I'll just cut you off. You just got about 10 times you discuss that matter already. I tired of you. Yes. Call your name. Hello? Yeah. Hello?
What I think callers need
Yes.
to appreciate,
Yeah.
it's a
Hello?
public.
Hello.
Yes, you are here, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
My name is Muhammad Ali.
Yes.
I live in West
Not the boxer.
Now,
Okay.
let me explain.
Yes, yes.
I have a matter with my brother.
Okay.
I make several reports
Yes.
at the Amstel police
Yes.
station. The sergeant of the station is saying
Okay.
she want to be my wife.
What?
Yeah, that station sergeant, she's saying that she want to be my wife. I don't concern what I report some
Why do you report the matter to police?
Yeah, I report. I'm tell you I went to the Amstel.
Yes. What they said to you?
Police are tell me like me a lie.
Okay.
I making a report. You got to entertain it. She
Okay.
tell me now why me not take she as my wife. You call her my wife.
Okay.
Now, the thing is this: when I reach in the station,
Yeah.
the woman exactly know what I'm going to say.
Yes.
So I must say,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
you know what you call
Yeah.
fixing or being
Yes.
drive.
Yes.
That is what's going on. I
Yeah.
make a next report prior to that to Mr. Singh
Okay.
of he had a drone, removed my article from my home, and Singh went to him, and he,
Caller, we can't discuss all that on this program today, right?
Pardon me?
Please. We can't discuss all of that on the program.
Mr. Sharma, I know you well,
Yes.
right? I was a prosecutor.
Yes. What?
I was a prosecutor, if I remember the and so.
Yeah.
My name is Ali.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
But I want the matter to be heard by you and the police, because
Please,
I'm
come.
going all out for it.
Communication, please communicate on Saturday morning.
Next
About 12 o'clock.
Saturday,
12 o'clock.
Before that, me go run all about. Me go up to the president.
Okay.
You understand me?
Okay. Okay.
Just think
My
it over
friend-
because the police is taking bribe.
Mr. Ali,
Yes.
what I suggest you do
Yes.
is put something in writing, first of
Gotcha.
all, because
I
people
plan
say
to do all,
things.
but I want to go and talk to them.
Wait a
personally.
minute, my friend. Talking is one thing, but put in writing, because when you put in writing, you reflect to make sure what you write is
What is
accurate.
accurate.
And
Yeah,
secondly,
but what I'm saying, still
Wait,
I understand what you're
you're not listening to me. We were listening to you a moment ago.
Yeah.
Secondly, there's the Police Complaints Commission.
Authority.
I plan
And
to do all
thirdly,
that, be honest.
we have a new Commissioner of Police
Yes,
whose
I plan
integrity
to do all
is beyond
that, but
question.
I'm talking about the station at West Marara first, because I have to go see the commander.
Okay.
I went yesterday, the commander was out. Right? So me not running or jumping about, I want to go through the procedure.
Okay.
Okay. Well, do that.
Okay.
And if you come against a bottleneck,
Yeah.
Mr. Sharma will certainly
Yeah.
look
Help
at
you,
it
help
for
you.
you.
Alma should know me because I do a prosecuting matter with him.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay then.
Thank you.
You have a famous name.
Except you know what you were saying just now, before that. You
About-
talking about something with the lady.
No, I said that in each case,
Yes, that's right.
one has to remember that a story has two
What do I say?
sides.
Two sides, three
In
sides.
Guyana, it has
Yes,
three
yes,
sides.
Yes, yes.
And that this station is open to the public.
That's right.
And the most you can do is listen to people
Listen to people, that's right.
and let them
Get a view.
see the view
Give, yes.
and hear the other side.
That's right.
You know.
Call you in, hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to agree with quite a lot that Mr. Green said today.
Yes.
And actually,
Yes.
I want to say that Mr. Barnum or Mr. Jigan would not have tolerated some of those ministers putting their feet in their mouth so often.
Okay.
Secondly,
Yeah.
economically,
Yes.
during Mr. Barnum time,
Okay.
we had something called the State Planning Commission,
Yes.
of which Mr. Hyde, I think, was head.
Yes.
Mr. Hyde of Vancouver, I think.
Yeah.
And some of the problems that is facing the government here is that it appears to be so disjointed, like, everybody on their own. Things not necessarily need to be centralized, but they need more proper qualified people to plan the state and plan the economy so it can look more organized.
Yeah.
Not that one
So
person
what
saying
you
one
what
thing
you
today,
recommend?
next
What you
day
what
somebody
you
saying the
recommend?
next
What you
day
recommend? What
something
you
else.
recommend?
And then president got to come in and, the damage already done by the time you reach to the president.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
So what you recommend here which should be done?
He's gonna.
Okay. Call you, hello?
Hello?
Yeah, you on here, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr.
Good,
Sharma.
good afternoon. Yes.
I want Mr. Green to answer this question,
Yes. What question you want to answer?
Truly, Mr. Green, in your days as Prime Minister in the government, was there any junior and senior minister, that I feel is just a waste of time, This just making up political, what am I saying, giving back to the political
Yes.
people.
Okay.
Because you don't need a junior and senior minister in this country. Mr. Green, could you answer that question?
Okay.
Even before independence, once the ministerial system was established, we've always had the concept and the reality of junior ministers or parliamentary secretaries. Different names, but the point is that in a particular ministry, subject whatever you want, if you want to give service to the public, you need a minister who's in charge and an assistant who's a political entity who can listen to the public and deal with the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
It's a system you have all over. You call them junior ministers, parliamentary secretaries, advisors, what have you. But the idea is, in a complex society such as yours, a minister need to have that support.
What about the permanent secretary, Mr. Green?
The permanent secretary is an official who is the head bureaucrat of the ministry. That permanent secretary deals with routine matters of finance and to deal with the way the ministry is run. But if you have someone with a political issue, and most of our issues devolve around politics, social intervention, and what is required by the people on the ground. That's the job of the minister, the parliamentary secretary, or the junior minister.
Okay, sir. Another thing, connection with the city council, right? Do you know that the wages bill for the city council itself
is more than the money that they receive.
Okay.
How could you run a business, as you just said? You can't run a business when you're making losses and so. How could you have a lot of people working, some of them doing nothing,
Okay.
but you got a high wage bill and then you say
Okay.
you got to get more money?
Basically, you
Thank
got to
you.
answer that, right? Please.
I am not me, I can't answer that,
Yeah.
but certainly when I was in charge,
Okay.
we didn't have idle people.
Call you in here. Hello?
Mr.
Hello?
Sharma,
Yes.
I called earlier. I just want to make a next point. Now,
Yes.
I remember vividly years ago, Mr. Green, he was in charge of health. I think he was the prime minister.
Yeah.
We had a problem here at Brianville, and he knows who is talking to him right now.
Yes.
We had a problem where I started a cottage industry, and my neighbor and so had a problem. And you know what Mr. Green did? Mr. Green came. He called us together, and he trashed out that matter. Of
Okay.
course, by that time, I would have already gotten the next place,
Yeah.
right? That is lacking in this government right now. And next point that if I want to stretch his imagination years ago,
Yeah.
my father-in-law, John Harrison from Squirrel Manufacturing Industries,
Okay.
he had a problem with Rex Oming, who was
Yeah.
a government analyst at the time,
Yes.
right? And Rex Oming, right, was a very terrible chap.
Yeah.
Very, very terrible. I see the Prime Minister is smiling, right?
Okay.
He was a very terrible chap.
Yeah.
So you know what? The government of the day invited us to a full sub-cabinet meeting to solve that problem.
Okay.
When are we going to have situations like this for the Guyanese people?
Mr.
When
Very,
are
very
our
experienced. Very
ministers
experienced.
be talking to
Yeah.
us? You understand?
Yeah.
Now, I want to make one other point, and then I'm gonna finish.
Yes.
Now, it saddens
Please.
me to hear on a daily basis how much money the
Yes.
people stole,
Yes.
etc., etc., etc.
Yes.
Now you have
Yes,
not
yes.
won one single
Yes.
case in court.
Yes.
Soko is a disgrace,
Yes.
or they're doing something that is totally wrong, right?
Yeah.
You imagine those guys from GRDB, right?
Yeah.
They were accused of not
Yeah.
putting in $4.2 million by some ledger or something,
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Okay.
And do you know that Soko was not there to represent their case?
Yes. Yes.
Guess what?
Yes.
The case
Yes.
went through the window.
Yes.
Right? I mean, what is happening?
Okay.
Are we a pack of jokers? Are we people who don't understand what the law is?
They're not joke. They want to make joke. They want to make joke. Not jokers. They want to make some joke.
I mean,
Yes.
Mr. Sharma, it saddens me to
Yeah.
see how the mediocre situation that is happening with this government right now.
Okay.
Right? And I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I'm going to call a name.
Don't call him. Don't call him, please.
No. Mr. Basil Williams he should be removed from office.
He's our own general, man. He's our own general.
He should be removed from office.
Why you say that?
Because he don't have the capacity.
Okay.
He's embarrassing this government.
Let the member of the public be. Let the member of the public be the judge, not you.
He's embarrassing this
Okay.
government.
Okay then.
Okay, sir.
Thank you very. Mr. Green.
He's
Respond.
He's raised a very interesting
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
One has got to put things in the appropriate context.
Yeah.
The example he gave comes out of the fact that I knew Rex Huming.
Yeah.
We grew up in the same area, All
Yeah.
Boys Town.
Yeah.
So the kind of easy dialogue I could have with him
Yeah.
is that possible these days where people
Yeah.
tend to be more remote. And secondly, in those days we had the pressure of Burnham, who knew you had to deliver.
Yeah.
Mr. Granger has the problem of a very difficult coalition. And as we know, there are different times, different challenges. And people ought not to be too harsh
Okay.
on some of the ministers. And I think some of them are willing to learn.
Okay.
And if they'd only talk to some of us, they would learn.
Yes.
And that's the problem.
Okay. Calling you. Hello. Hello.
Hi. Good
Yes. Yes. Good afternoon.
afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Dave.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to ask something about a referendum in this country before we get left.
Yes.
I'm sure how we can get that, Mr. Green.
What?
A referendum.
Yes. But you want to referendum. What you want with that?
The country.
Yeah.
Like the aisle, like when it's shifting out with gold.
Okay, okay.
So how we can get a referendum?
We're going to talk about it next time, right? Call you. Hello? Hello?
He's got to craft the issues for the referendum. And I said it before on this program. The David Granger government is saddled with a major problem of democracy.
Yes.
There was a time in the United States where you had a spoiled system.
Yes.
When a government changed, you bring a new president.
Yes.
All the top people
Yes.
offer their resignation so that the new government
That's
will
right.
have
That's true. That's true.
their own people.
Yes.
We have people in top positions who serve the People's Progressive
Yeah,
Party.
party. That's right. That's right.
And Mr. Granger has tried to be
Yes.
very decent and very democratic. Some of us feel he's too decent and too democratic. But that's another matter.
Yes.
But you have
Yes.
in
Yes.
the agencies we talked
Yes.
about people who were involved in rascality.
Yes.
But
Yes.
Mr. Granger
Yes.
wanted to be
Yes.
a good person,
Yes.
and they're in place.
Yes.
And maybe we need to do some more shaking up.
Okay. On the program we have Jaipal, the Minister Jaipal Sharma. You on the program? Call the community live. You have your Joe Jacob. Joe Jacob will come in?
I like your shirt.
Yes.
Yes, thanks.
Call you in the hello? Hello?
Mr. Sharma, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Sharma, I agree with that call before in respect to the Attorney General.
Yes.
He's not winning any matter. He
What?
don't know to speak.
Why you say that, man? Why you
All
say
he's
that?
doing is politics about
Man, this man is Attorney
He has
General,
that
man.
attitude and speak
What
properly.
can attitude?
and
What can
tell
attitude he got?
him.
Tell me what attitude you got.
It has better person in the government that could be Attorney General.
Yeah.
He's supposed to remove from there.
Okay.
Find somebody else who is capable.
Yeah.
Since he is trying matters, going with matters,
Yeah.
he win none. He is just wasting time. Get him out of there.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you can't give him senior counsel. You should not have get him senior counsel.
Okay.
He's not worth it.
Okay. Okay.
It's easy to criticize
Yes,
people,
that's right.
but we're dealing with a very fractious legal environment.
Yes.
I was in court up there yesterday,
Okay.
and things are being put off every day, and justice is being denied. The Attorney General has to sit there and deal with what he has,
Yes.
what staff he has. And I don't think it's a fair criticism unless people can bring specific
Okay.
instances,
Yes.
you know. And the president must have thought carefully before he appointed him Attorney General,
Yes. That's true.
you know.
Jaipal, welcome to the program, the Vice Justice Ronald Program.
Yes,
What is
thank
some of
you.
your view? Opening remarks.
No, in relation to the caller
Yeah.
and the
Yes.
negative comments
Yes.
about our Honorable Attorney General,
Yes.
Basil Williams.
Yes.
You know, people apparently forget is our Attorney General, Basil Williams, that defended that case for the third term in the CCJ
Yeah.
and won. And
Yeah.
I think that was a victory.
Yeah.
And the many pieces of legislation that the Attorney General would table in Parliament, and many other successes. But there are failures in whatever, if you don't properly prepare, or if you see the Attorney General took over a number of cases from the previous government, and the Attorney General was saying on many occasions that he was basically sabotaged,
Okay.
in that these cases was not properly handled, and he was not properly briefed,
Yeah.
and things of that nature. And so, you know, we have our confidence in the Attorney General,
Okay.
the Honorable Basil Williams, Minister of Legal Affairs.
Yes. Call your name. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, your name, please.
I'm on the air.
Hello? Your name. Please go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good
How are you
afternoon. That's right.
doing? What is the topic we talking about?
Look at the topic. Look at the topic. And open topic. Open topic. Opening topic.
Yeah, no, the first one talk.
Call your name. Hello?
Yeah, Mr. Sharma.
Yes.
Welcome back to Mr. Jaipal.
Yes.
He just said that they have the confidence in the Attorney General.
Yes.
But Mr. Jaipal, the people are losing confidence in the Attorney General. Months ago, I told you all 4 ministers which would embarrass this government: the Attorney General, the Agriculture Minister, the Minister of Trotman, right? 4 of them, and the Finance Minister. And you see, they get rid of the Trotman, they gotta get rid of agriculture, then get rid of Pastor Williams, and this country gonna move on. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
No, you see, again, every single minister, and I'm no exception, I'm a minister within the ministry. We are appointed by the president. We are all elected members of parliament, and we are appointed by the president. At the leisure of the president, we are there to serve him. And so it's not for me or anyone here to say we're not satisfied with any one of the minister. If the president still have that minister there, the president is satisfied. When he's so not satisfied, well, then he will let that minister know. But then it's further compounded by a coalition government. So the hands of the president, you could say, is tied. I'm not speaking on behalf of the president,
Okay.
but I could imagine the complexity with the coalition government. Just imagine you try to remove, the caller mentioned a minister from the coalition, the Honorable Minister Trotman.
Yes.
The president didn't do anything to Minister Trotman to remove any powers. The president had given Minister Trotman additional powers. Minister Trotman gave back to the presidency those powers. So, because of lack of understanding of what transpired, people believe the president removed powers from the Minister of Natural Resources. It's not so. But if the president should touch a coalition minister who's from a coalition party, then there's repercussions. The repercussions could be, they could be internal wranglings.
Or must an accord.
Right? So you have an accord also, a Commonsburg Accord. And that also will stipulate how such disputes and decisions shall be taken. So it's not easy for this president, at least. I'm going to tell you, no other president had the challenge of a coalition government than President David Granger. Maybe you could say LFS Barnum had when he had the UF as part of a coalition government. But never such a large coalition ever existed in the history of Guyana.
Colin Hill.
But CN, before the caller comes
Yes.
on,
Yes.
you have this dichotomy and this strange
Yes.
absurdity.
Okay.
The caller said the people. What authority, what analysis is made to speak on behalf of the people?
Okay.
People express their personal views
That's right.
and says the people.
Yeah.
This program opens for everybody
That's
to
right.
talk.
Everybody. That's
But some people call us the last call, say the people. I don't know whether he's talking about himself or his family or who. And it's a strange phenomenon which has entered in the crucible of our political life. People say the people.
Yeah.
They've had no census, they have got no mandate from anybody,
Okay.
but they say the people to strengthen their prejudices.
Yes, but I to support the Honorable Hamilton Green here and his what he said. It's true. A few callers may call and say they have no confidence in a minister, but is it indeed a large amount of people or just few people?
Okay.
And so I sure if the president of the country, any country is faced with a challenge where the people of the country rise up against a particular minister, the president will have no other choice to listen to the people.
Green, what is some of your response?
Well, that's true. That's the point we're making.
Colin Hill. Hello?
Jaipal, excuse me, Jaipal.
Yeah. Yes. Go ahead, please.
I want to make. Oh, I'm sorry, Minister Jaipal.
Yes.
I want to react to what you've just said a couple of minutes ago. Now, you had 3 cases that was given to the Attorney General on a platter. Number 1, the case with PK.